You are standing around a fire. It is 50,000 BC. The sun just went down. There is no phone to stare at, and there is just you, the flames, and the thick, choking smoke curling directly into your face. And somewhere, at some point, one of your ancestors looked at that smoke and thought, what if I did that on purpose? This is the story of how humans discovered smoking. Not cigarettes, not cigars, but the very first time a human being intentionally inhaled something burning. Because nobody tells you this, but smoking doesn't start with tobacco, and it doesn't start with colonial trade routes or agriculture. The desire to inhale smoke might be hardwired into us on a level so deep that it predates civilization entirely. Let's start with fire, because before you can smoke anything, you need fire. The oldest confirmed evidence of controlled fire use dates back roughly 1 million years from a site called Wonderwork Cave in South Africa. Archaeologists found burnt plant ash and charred bone that was used deliberately inside a cave. Now, 1 million years ago, we weren't even Homo sapiens yet. That was Homo erectus, our earlier cousin with a smaller brain, a heavier brow, and absolutely zero interest in being told what to do with it. They sat around fires just like we do. They cooked, they huddled together in the dark, and they breathed smoke every single day. For hundreds of thousands of years, every pre-human ancestor inhaled smoke. It was unavoidable, constant, and basically the original bad air quality situation. But here is where it gets interesting. When you burn organic matter, you get a cocktail of chemical compounds. Some plants, when combusted, release psychoactive chemicals that interact with the human nervous system in ways that are very noticeable. In other words, some of our ancestors were absolutely, accidentally getting high around the campfire, and they had no idea why they felt amazing. The human brain actually has receptors that respond to cannabinoids. These receptors did not evolve because of cannabis. They are part of our endocannabinoid system, which regulates mood, memory, and appetite. But when a human first inhaled smoke from a burning psychoactive plant, their brain was not confused. Their brain was basically saying, "Oh, hello, I have been waiting for you." That first accidental hit of psychoactive smoke might be the true origin of smoking. So when did we start doing it on purpose? The oldest direct evidence of intentional cannabis use comes from a burial site in the Pamir Mountains of Central Asia, dating to around 500 BC. Excavators found wooden braziers containing superheated stones alongside residue from cannabis plants with unusually high THC content. This was the good stuff, placed directly in a ritual burial. There's also the ancient Greek historian Herodotus. Writing in the 5th century BC, he described the Scythians, a nomadic people, performing what he called a vapor bath. They would set up small enclosed tents, throw hemp seeds onto glowing stones, and inhale the smoke, howling with pleasure. For centuries, historians thought he was exaggerating. Then archaeologists found bronze braziers and hemp residue in Scythian burial mounds, proving Herodotus was just reporting exactly what he saw. But absence of older physical evidence does not mean it didn't happen earlier. A wooden pipe filled with dried herbs disappears in a few centuries under normal conditions. Let's look at tobacco, a plant native to the Americas. When European explorers arrived in 1492, they noticed indigenous people inhaling smoke from burning dried leaves. Columbus's crew was baffled, and then within weeks they tried it themselves because of course they did. But archaeological evidence of tobacco in ancient pipes goes back at least 3,500 years in the United States. And in 2019, researchers in the Great Salt Lake Desert in Utah found a hearth roughly 12,000 years old containing the seeds of wild tobacco. These seeds were concentrated and deliberately placed, pushing back the timeline of tobacco use by a massive margin. This raises a fascinating question. If people were throwing tobacco into fires 12,000 years ago, what were humans in other parts of the world doing with their local plants? Anthropologists propose the intoxication hypothesis. It suggests that the pursuit of altered consciousness is a biological drive alongside hunger, thirst, and sex. This is biologically embedded in animal behavior too. Elephants seek out fermented fruit. Reindeer in Siberia eat psychoactive mushrooms, and then other reindeer drink their urine because the compounds pass through intact. Reindeer doing drug recycling in Siberia. Honestly, respect. So, it is entirely reasonable that early humans deliberately exposed themselves to smoke because they learned through trial and error that it changed their minds. Smoking also started as medicine. The Ebers Papyrus, one of the oldest medical documents from ancient Egypt around 1550 BC, describes treatments involving the inhalation of smoke from heated herbs for lung conditions. Ancient Indian Ayurvedic medicine, dating back 3,000 years, describes a practice of inhaling medicinal herbs through pipes. In a world without antibiotics, inhaling therapeutic smoke reached the lungs directly, and sometimes it actually worked. Furthermore, smoking was social technology. When a group of ancient humans sat in a closed space, breathing smoke and entering an altered state, it created deep trust and group cohesion. Isolated individuals died, but groups survived, and shared rituals kept groups together. In the ancient Americas, tobacco was sacred. It was used in healing, in binding agreements, and as a messenger between the living and the divine. A shaman who smoked was not having a casual cigarette break. However, the transition from sacred smoke to a casual habit was a historical disaster. When tobacco arrived in Europe, it spread with terrifying speed. What indigenous Americans had treated with reverence for thousands of years was turned into a mass-market consumer product by European industrialists. By the 20th century, the tobacco industry engineered cigarettes to be as chemically addictive and financially extractive as possible. They suppressed evidence that cigarettes caused cancer and marketed them to children. The gap between a shaman placing cannabis on hot stones in a ritual burial and an executive marketing cigarettes to teenagers is a massive moral chasm. Both involve smoke, but absolutely nothing else is the same. So, when did ancient humans start smoking? The physical evidence confidently takes us back 12,000 years. But the behavioral drive to alter consciousness, share rituals, and use inhaled medicine is almost certainly far older. It might be as old as the cognitive leap that made us human in the first place. There are thin threads of continuity that run unbroken through human experience: fire, smoke, and breath. The oldest humans sat around fires and breathed the same smoky air you would smell at a bonfire tonight, and eventually they started choosing it. So next time you catch a whiff of wood smoke on a cold night, you are participating in something far older than you realize. If you enjoyed this journey into our ancient past, please hit the like button and subscribe for more deep dives. It really helps the channel grow, and we will see you in the next video.